Hey, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Oh, I'm so glad you're here today. It is August 19th. How about that? My name's Tom Coffey. We're at Coffee Nuance. You know, you should follow me on X. That's one of the places you can reach me. We're live right now on Rumble, rumble.com/Coffee Nuance/live. Just bookmark it. We're also live on the YouTube, but today I've got a great topic, and it's going to change how you view all reporting about presidential polls. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here and not glued to the latest poll, which, let's be honest, is about as reliable as a weather forecast from Puxatawny Phil. You know, the groundhog. Now, I've been keeping an eye on these polls, and I've come to the conclusion they're not science. They're more like reading tea leaves, but with less caffeine. Seriously, if I wanted predictions this vague, I'd just open up my horoscope. At least when it says today you may encounter a challenge, it's not pretending to be science. The media, though, they love these polls. Kamala's up by 3 points. Trump's favorability just dipped below his golf handicap. Kamala Harris has a 38% chance of winning if Mercury is in retrograde and the moon is in its 7th house. But do these numbers actually tell us anything? Nope. They're just feeding us a narrative, a nice, tidy story that fits neatly between a viral cat video and an ad for a prescription drug we can't pronounce. Here's the problem, folks. These polls, they're not even asking the right questions. Some of the polls ask about a person's favorability. Do you like this person? Well, I like pizza, but I'm not making it Secretary of State. And then there's these polls that just ask registered voters. Yeah, because we all know registering to vote is basically the same as showing up, right? It's like saying everyone that buys running shoes is running marathons. Give me a break. The best part, the media never tells you who was polled, or how the questions were asked. Was it a bunch of college kids who thought they were taking a BuzzFeed quiz? Was it retirees in Florida that they thought they were voting on American Idol? We don't know. They just slap these numbers on the screen like they've cracked the code to the universe. Here's the bottom line. Polling isn't just junk science. It's like a magic 8-ball that changes by the hour. At least the magic 8-ball has the decency to say, better not tell you now. These polls, they're the perfect blend of certainty and absolute guesswork. It's like watching a psychic with stage fright. So the next time you see a poll that says your candidate is winning or losing, just remember, it's all fake news, folks. The only poll that matters is the one on Election Day. And until then, let's enjoy these polls for what they are. High-priced horoscopes dressed up in fancy graphics. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee Nuance Show, the least watched, censored commentary news show live right now. Flame on. Oh my God, huge crowd here today, but thanks everyone for joining in. This is interesting. So we're talking about these polls. We hear a lot about presidential polls, and I'll tell you one thing that most people don't know is how does polling work? How does forecasting work? How does statistics work? It's actually science, but what's being presented by the media is not science at all. It's all fake. It's all fake. And you may say, Tom, what do you know about this? Just because you took a number of graduate classes in forecasting, you think that you know better than Anderson Cooper? Yeah, I do. Let me tell you why these polls are not reliable. Okay, so one of the things, if you see a poll and they just say, oh, poll, Harris is up by 2. If the poll does not include all the candidates, right? That's what most of the polls are. They just have the two major party candidates on them. They exclude the third party or independent candidates. And this narrows the focus and it fails to represent the full range of what your options are. So just think about it this way. If you're polling your family, do you want pizza or burgers tonight? And then they choose burgers. That's not the same as saying, what would you like for dinner tonight? Because everyone might want Italian. Okay? That is a terrible example. That's why I shouldn't make this stuff up live. But it's worthless. That poll is worthless. If you don't include Kennedy in a poll, that's not what it is on election day. So that's no good. What about polling just registered voters and not likely voters? I've seen these polls. In fact, the latest poll that I saw on 538, I went into the questions, their methodology on how they came up with this. One of the questions was, do you plan on voting this fall? And people answered no. And some people said definitely no. Some people said likely not voting. And they were all included in this poll. You would think if you are being polled about your preference for a presidential candidate, and one of the questions is, I definitely will not vote. Okay, I definitely will not vote. And then the question is, okay, pretend you are going to vote. Who do you vote for? That question is worthless. It's worthless. It should not be included in any kind of poll. It should be a poll of likely voters. Do you plan on voting? Okay, good. Well, then your opinion might matter. You're planning on not voting? Okay. With that in mind, you have to choose between Harris or Trump. Which of the two do you choose? And you're like, why? I said I'm not going to vote. I understand that. But this is a separate question. You have to choose Harris or Trump. Seriously? This is science? This isn't science. This is crap. Now, one of the things to keep in mind, I'm not saying that the polling isn't science. The polling could be done in a scientific way. It's the reporting on the polling. That's fake. That's what I'm saying is fake. The poll could actually be a real poll, but it's being reported in a fake way. So if you're not including all the candidates, if you're not looking at likely voters, what if you're just looking at the general public? You're not even finding out if they're registered to vote or not. What does that matter? That doesn't matter at all. Okay. Another thing that a lot of these polls do, they don't ask, who do you plan on voting for? Yeah, seriously. They may ask if you have a favorable opinion of this person. And then they report that as though it's how the person was going to vote. Well, you can think Trump is a total asshole and still vote for him, right? Right? You can do that. You can hate Kamala Harris and still vote for her. Okay? So whether or not you find them favorable or not, right? They're likable, whatever it happens to be, a favorable person. It doesn't matter. The real question is, who are you going to vote for? And the polls that don't ask who you're going to vote for, why are we listening to them? Why are we listening to them? Yes, it's as if the media is using polls to push certain narratives. I wonder if they've done that with any other subject, right? So another thing they don't do, there's a total lack of transparency. Polls often don't disclose important details like who was polled, or what were the questions? How were they phrased? What was the methodology used? And when you don't have any of this information presented, it can be pretty misleading. Another thing is the sampling of people. The sample of people may not be representative of a broader population. So, the geography, the age. So let's say you're doing a poll and it's in Iowa or something like that, right? And your poll was taken out at the state fair, or your poll was taken out at the state fair on Farm Day, where there are a bunch of farmers out there, and that's who you polled. Is that representative of the entire state? No, of course not. Of course not. Also, political affiliation can skew the polls. To decide, okay, this poll, we're going to take this many Republicans, this many Democrats, this many independents, because that's what we believe is going to happen on election day. You don't know, right? If there's more enthusiasm with one group, there can be more of them. And so treating all the groups as the same is kind of ridiculous. A lot of times these have a really small sample sizes, which can lead to a margin of error that is bigger than the difference between the candidates. Well, if that's the case, again, the poll is fake. It's worthless. It's no good. And the media will often highlight certain polls that create a specific narrative, and that can create a biased or incomplete picture of the election. Okay. So if lots of polls come out, they can choose and cherry pick which polls they want to talk about. And if it helps whatever narrative that that particular network is pushing. Don't you think it'd be interesting to know what the wording of the questions is in these polls? So often the way that it can be phrased can totally influence the answers, and that can lead to biased and inaccurate results. So, for example, even if they claim that they ask about all the candidates, right? One example of how this can be misleading is you can say, okay, in a race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who's more favorable or whatever, right? And they'll ask a number of questions between Harris and Trump, between Harris and Trump, between Harris and Trump. And then 5 questions later, they'll say, okay, who would you choose for president among the list of these 10 candidates? And it'll be Trump, Harris, Kennedy, Jill Stein, whatever, Cornel West, whatever, all the other candidates. By setting up the questions that way, it's really influencing the person taking the poll, and the poll is actually persuading the individual taking the poll that the only 2 choices are Trump and Harris, right? By having all the concentration at the beginning and several questions just between Trump and Harris, it's suggesting to the participant that those are the only 2 real choices. You see? So a lot of this polling could actually be pushed by the 2 major parties in a way to maintain power, right? And again, polling taken too far in advance doesn't mean anything. It's not really predictive. Another thing is a lot of people may not be truthful in their polls. I tell you, I live in Portland, Oregon. And if I were taking a poll, do you think I'd be honest? No. Well, one, I probably wouldn't take a poll. But if I were, and I knew that whoever is taking the poll, they know my name, they know where I live, do you think I'm going to tell them who I support? Of course not. Right? That would actually put me in danger. Yes, believe it or not. So if you have an unpopular opinion, especially where you are, you're going to have pretty inaccurate results. So anyway, those are just a few ideas about polling and why it's all fake. And I don't know if you bought it or not, but what you can do if you're interested is just go on over to 538. So the easiest way to get there is just Google 538 because it's I think they spell it out FIVETHIRTYEIGHT.com, right? So if you just Google, just punch in the number 538 and hit Google, you can find it and you can look at the polls and you can look for yourself. So for example, this latest one from YouGov, CBS News, they only asked between Trump and Harris. Okay. Yeah. Crazy. And when you go through, it was very, very different. Very misleading how you can kind of manipulate the media. For one, like the nationally, right? Why do we care? We don't have a national popular vote in this country. So it doesn't matter if one candidate, who cares how they poll nationally? Okay. If you are winning California, you get all of the electoral votes from California. Does it matter if you won by 100,000 points or 10 million points? Votes. Doesn't matter. All of those extra votes, they don't matter at all. You got the electoral votes from California. So those extra 10 million votes or whatever it happens to be, those don't matter, not one bit. But they do certainly play into the national polling figures. So again, national polls, worthless. Polls with only 2 candidates, worthless. Polls that look at all registered voters, worthless. Polls that aren't asking who you vote for, those are worthless. Who you like, that's different than who you're going to vote for. A lot of people vote for someone not because they like them. They may hate both candidates. They may hate all the candidates, but one of the candidates they hate more. So they actually vote for somebody they hate, but they don't hate him as much as the other one. Again, so favorability, that doesn't matter. None of that matters. In fact, so these are just some of the things that you can do, but you can go to 538 for yourself. Now I could put it up on the screen. I could go through it, but it doesn't matter because it's not persuasive for me to just show you this stuff. This is one of the things you have to look into yourself. If you look into it yourself, you'll say like, oh my God, Tom was right. Oh my God. They're not even voting. They're not even looking at likely voters, they're just looking at registered voters, like this one from August 11th, YouGov, The Economist, which has Harris up by 2. Well, they're looking at registered voters. Now, here's something else to consider. There are many states, like in Oregon, everybody's registered. Everybody gets registered to vote automatically. If you don't want to be registered to vote, you have to go and unregister to vote in this state. If you do anything, you get a driver's license, anything you do here, you're automatically registered to vote. And then to not be registered to vote, you have to go through a big deal to get unregistered. Okay? So there's lots of people that are registered that never vote, that don't want to vote. Why are we counting those people? We shouldn't count those people. And you can just go by yourself. Oh, look here, this Washington Post ABC Ipso poll. Oh, they're looking at all Americans. They're not even looking at registered or likely voters. Really? And these are the kinds of polls that get pushed in the media that keep up this narrative of this horse race that goes on with elections. Anyway, that's about all my thoughts on that. I want to know your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments. After the bye-bye music, I will go through all the live chat, say what's up to everybody, and hope you can come join me on Wednesday. It's a Big Idea Wednesday, and I'll be back live on Wednesday. But until then, Peace. Yes, here we go. What's up, John? Hashtag Rumble Gang. Lucid Moments. Nice to see you. Not a whole lot of people tuning in today. So, what are you going to do about it? So I guess this will be really quick after show, right? Magnets, how do they work? Exactly. Lucid says, it seems all polls represent what the interviewers wish to promote. Well, that's pretty much it. And a lot of times, if you think about it this way, people have to pay for polls, right? Polls don't just get made. Polls are sold, right? So someone has to pay for those polls. So if you want organizations or news media or something to buy your poll, you probably have to do something that they want to buy, right? And it seems the polls they want to buy are not the ones that reflect reality. Lucid says, when the same outfit that hates the candidate offers a poll, the answers reflect the show's own viewpoints. Coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence at all. That's just kind of how things are. Now, that is just how things are. This is going to be real interesting today. Start of the DNC tonight. I think Chicago is going to be a some kind of show, if you will. Insert your own 4-letter word that rhymes with hit. But that's going to be interesting. I guess I think, is it tonight? No, maybe not tonight. One of these days, it's going to be the let's all thank Biden. And heap praise on Biden night. And from what I understand, he's just going to show up for the one night and he's going to take off. Because that's kind of what you would expect. But all the chaos that's happening in Chicago, that should be kind of interesting. What can you draw any conclusions from it? No. No. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And then also, it will be interesting to see how it is reported. One thing that I always find interesting is when you watch something with your own eyes, and then you see how that thing is reported. And see if those two things line up, or see how different they are. See how different the reporting on something is from the event that you watched with your own eyes. That's always a fun thing to do. So you can try that out. But anyway, I think that's all I have for you today. I hope you all have a beautiful day. If you haven't yet, hit the like button and go follow me on X. Till next time. Peace.